Most people believe their lives are shaped by the big decisions, the career they choose, the city they move to, the opportunities they accept. But identity is rarely built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet ones, in the conversations nobody hears, in the negotiations that happen behind closed doors. The alarm rings. You say you'll get up. You don't. You promise you'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow arrives. You don't. You tell yourself this time will be different. Then you break the agreement again. And eventually something dangerous happens. Not failure, something worse. Your words begin to lose weight. You stop believing yourself. And once a person no longer trusts their own voice, every goal becomes heavier than it should be, because the obstacle is no longer the challenge. It's the memory of all the times you walked away from your own commitment. A quiet question begins following you everywhere. Why would this time be any different? There is a contradiction at the center of human nature. We understand trust perfectly when it involves other people. If a friend lies repeatedly, trust fades. If a colleague constantly fails to do what they promised, we stop relying on them. If a leader makes commitments they never honor, their authority slowly evaporates. The principle is obvious. Trust is built through evidence. Yet when it comes to ourselves, we suddenly abandon that logic. We act as though confidence can be learned through theory, as though it can be borrowed from a book, as though enough positive thinking can manufacture certainty. But confidence has never been created by affirmation. Confidence is memory. It is the accumulated record of promises kept. The mind is always watching, always recording, always collecting proof. Every action becomes testimony. Every decision leaves a trace. The person who says they will train and trains is creating evidence. The person who says they will wake up early and wakes up early is creating evidence. The person who says they will finish what they started and actually finishes is creating evidence. And eventually the subconscious reaches a verdict. This person means what they say. That verdict becomes confidence. Not because confidence was pursued directly, but because trust was earned. Most people want confidence before they act. The rare few act in ways that make confidence unavoidable. That difference changes everything, because self-trust is one of the most powerful forces a human being can possess. Not power over others, power over themselves. And those are entirely different things. The world is full of people capable of influencing others. Far fewer can consistently influence their own behavior. That is why discipline appears mysterious. People look at disciplined individuals and imagine some hidden advantage. A stronger mind, better genetics, more motivation. But discipline is often far less complicated. It is the natural consequence of a relationship. The relationship between a person and their own word. Imagine meeting someone who has never kept a promise to you. Not once. Every commitment abandoned. Every agreement ignored. Every responsibility postponed. Would you trust them with something important? Of course not. Yet many people have spent years becoming that person to themselves. Years of abandoned commitments. Years of delayed action. Years of internal negotiations that always end the same way. Then they wonder why discipline feels impossible. The answer is uncomfortable. Because discipline struggles to survive where trust has been repeatedly broken. The problem is not always laziness. The problem is credibility. The mind has learned that intentions do not predict behavior, and once that lesson settles in, change becomes difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. Because every new commitment arrives carrying the weight of every old disappointment. This is why transformation rarely begins with ambition. It begins with restoration, restoring credibility, restoring integrity, restoring trust. Not in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of the only person you can never escape, yourself. Most people misunderstand integrity. They think it means being honest with others. But integrity comes from the idea of wholeness, alignment, being one person instead of two. A person with integrity does not perform one identity in public and another in private. Their words and actions belong to the same reality. And perhaps the greatest test of integrity is completely invisible. It happens when nobody is watching, when there is no reward. No recognition, no applause, no audience, only you. And a decision. Will you do what you said you would do, or will you lower the standard once again? That private moment shapes more lives than any public achievement ever could, because identity is not formed through what others witness. Identity is formed through what you repeatedly witness yourself doing. The world sees outcomes. The subconscious sees patterns, and patterns eventually become identity. Consider how a mountain is formed, not through one dramatic event, but through centuries of pressure, layer upon layer, so gradual it is almost invisible, yet powerful enough to reshape entire landscapes. Character develops the same way, not through one heroic act, but through countless acts of self-respect, finishing what you started. Remaining disciplined when excuses appear, telling the truth when dishonesty would be easier, honoring a commitment long after the excitement has disappeared. In isolation, these moments seem insignificant, but identity does not measure moments, it measures patterns. The repeated action becomes the repeated story. The repeated story becomes the self-image, and the self-image quietly begins directing your life. Because human beings rarely outperform their identity for long. Sooner or later, behavior returns to what the person believes they are. This is why lasting transformation is never merely behavioral, it is psychological. The goal is not to force different actions. The goal is to become the kind of person for whom those actions feel natural. Most people try to change their lives from the outside in. The few who succeed work from the inside out. They stop asking, "How do I become successful?" and start asking, "What evidence am I creating about myself today?" That question changes everything, because it shifts attention away from outcomes and toward identity, away from fantasies and toward proof, away from what you hope to become and toward what your actions are revealing. The truth is that every day you are casting votes, not for a political candidate, for a version of yourself. Every action is a vote. Every habit is a vote. Every promise kept is a vote. Every promise broken is a vote. The person you become is simply the result of whichever version receives the most votes over time. This is why greatness often looks boring from the outside. People imagine extraordinary lives are built through extraordinary moments, but the foundation is usually astonishingly ordinary. Showing up, following through, remaining consistent, keeping your word, again and again and again, until one day the behavior is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are. What separates the 1% is not perfection. It is reliability. They do not always feel motivated. They do not always feel inspired. They do not always feel certain. They simply stop treating commitments like suggestions, and because of that, they gain access to something most people never experience. Internal certainty. Not certainty that life will be easy, not certainty that success is guaranteed, but certainty that they can depend on themselves. That form of certainty is rare, and once you experience it, it becomes difficult to live without it. Because once you trust yourself, fear begins to lose its authority. You stop wondering whether you can handle adversity. You have evidence. You stop questioning whether you can stay disciplined. You have evidence. You stop searching endlessly for motivation. You have evidence. Your confidence no longer depends on emotion. It depends on history. And history is difficult to argue with. This is the hidden reward of self-mastery. Not achievement, not status, not recognition. Those things are merely byproducts. The deeper reward is becoming someone whose words carry weight, even when spoken in silence, even when heard by nobody else. A person who trusts themselves possesses a form of freedom that cannot be purchased, because they are no longer trapped in constant internal conflict. The war between intention and action begins to disappear. Thought and behavior move together. Identity becomes coherent. The mind becomes quieter. Life becomes simpler, not easier, simpler. Because there is no longer a debate every time a decision must be made. There is only a choice and then action. At the end of life, the most important promises will not be the ones you made to the world. They will be the ones you made to yourself. The promises nobody heard, the promises nobody tracked, the promises nobody rewarded. Because those promises were never really about productivity. They were never about achievement. They were never about success. They were about identity. Every time you kept your word, you were teaching yourself something. You were teaching yourself who you are, what you deserve, what is possible. And over time, those lessons became reality. The 1% are not people with greater talent. They are not people with greater luck. They simply understand something most people spend their lives overlooking. Every promise kept is more than an action. It is evidence. Evidence that your words matter. Evidence that your future self can trust you. Evidence that who you are becoming is not a fantasy, but a fact being built in real time. And in the end, the strongest people in the world are not those who can convince others. They are those who no longer need to convince themselves.